sorry, I'm going to have to speak and I'm going to have to leave. I left our delegation meeting to come and speak to you, but it's really important that I did, I feel, because our shop stewards, our reps are the most important people in the trade union movement, is my belief. It's not these general secretaries, you'll see plenty of them speak, but the people who are building the movement on the ground. I'm really pleased, actually, to be at this TUC Congress, and we've got a change in government. I think that is vitally important. I am not sad to see those Tories out on their arse after a humiliating, crushing defeat. I want us to just reflect on what they've done to our schools and to our communities. They left office with 4.3 million children living in poverty, 1 million children living in absolute destitution, unable to have their most basic needs met, in the 5th richest economy in the world. They have fueled a funding crisis in which we have seen the school buildings literally crumbling around children's heads because they have failed over the last decade to invest in the school estate. We've seen a funding crisis that has meant that we have a huge recruitment and retention crisis in education now. We cannot get the teachers, we cannot get the support staff to work in the profession because they've held back pay and they've allowed workloads to rocket. And the strike action last year was a pushback against that, and it helped turn the public opinion against the Tories, and that helped kick them out. So everybody who was involved in those strike waves should take ownership over forcing them out of office. But what we have now is also dependent on how much we are prepared to fight for it, what we are going to get. Of course, there are things that we are going to get from a Labour government, and I think that's going to take some of us some getting used to, if we're going to be honest. You know, they're funding a 5.5% teacher pay award. They're putting in the 1.2 billion to fund it. But what we also know is that they're going to need a bit more of a push. I think it's an absolute disgrace that Keir Starmer is not committing to scrap the 2-child benefit cap when we have the levels of child poverty that we do. I think it's a disgrace, actually, that the children in Camden are getting the universal free school meals, children in Wales are getting universal free school meals, but he is still holding out on rolling it out against throughout the country. These things are small beer. £1.3 billion it costs to roll out universal free school meals. For every pound spent on universal free school meals, the economy gets £1.64 in return. It's not us as militant trade unionists saying that, it's PricewaterhouseCoopers. We all want to see economic growth. We all want to see a future in which our children can flourish. But to do that, we need investment in education and investment in our children. Now, that last Labour government invested over 5% of GDP in education. That Tory government allowed it to decline to 3.9%. Now, that 1.1% does not sound a lot, but the reality is we have a £20 billion shortfall in education spending to get us up to the OECD average. Now, Keir Starmer is committing to spending 2.5% on militarism to meet NATO requirements. I want to see him also commit to spending the 5% of GDP that the OECD recommends as a spend on education. It's about time that we prioritise our children. So whilst we are going to get things, let us, none of us, get complacent, because he is going to need a push. So go back to your workplaces and build those trade unions, because there are going to be times in the future when we are going to have to fight again. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. So thank you very much. And